And welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Winning Edge Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Patrick, and today I'm hosted by none other than my good mate, Benny Black. How are we, mate?
I'm doing very well, Pat. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm going good. We're what are we? This is our 5th episode.
It is.
So
Yeah,
we've
fourth,
made it
fifth, yeah.
to the big episode 5. So all 4. I've lost track.
Too many guests to come in.
Yeah. At this stage, we've had one guest in Warwick Giddy, and we hopefully have another guest
Coming
joining us soon in Cole Pierce, who is a Paralympic swimmer who has just qualified for the Paris Olympic Games. So,
He'll be good to chat to, won't you think?
yeah, no, that should be a very good conversation. So, looking forward to that.
So
How are we doing?
Yeah, I'm doing really well. I'm actually, it's actually pretty good. Like, obviously, don't have anything to do. Like, uni's finished for the semester, so I'm pretty chill.
Yeah.
Like, there's literally nothing to do except for go home and play footy. So
And I can see you're wearing a footy jumper. Is
Yes,
that yours?
This is my footy club, the mighty Corrotherglen Roos jumper. This is their Indigenous jersey that they wore. Well, what we will be wearing again in 2 weeks for the Indigenous round. Bit of a plug for the club and
Shout out to them.
yeah, shout out to them and shout out to Franklin Murray Wright for making this Indigenous jersey. Looks very hip. And you're wearing a bit of a Celtic shirt. Please explain if you're a Lakers supporter.
So, I am a Lakers supporter.
It's like
But
wearing
I
a
love-
blue shirt and you're like, yeah.
For everyone out there that's listening and watching on YouTube, I have a massive collection of jerseys, whether that's footy, NFL, baseball, MLB, or basketball. I got a large range of jerseys, so I thought, why don't I do something special each week? I'll wear a different jersey into the podcast. So those that watched our episode on YouTube with Warwick Giddy, you would have seen I wore my Oklahoma City Thunder Josh Giddey jersey.
Yeah.
Thought that was only fitting with the last name on the back.
Yeah.
So
So who's 33 for the Celtics, for those people who don't know?
33 for the Celtics is none other than probably one of my all-time favourite players. Another blondie in the great Larry Bird.
He was playing 15 years before you were born, but anyway, wasn't
He retired about 10 years before I was born. So, yes, he did play well and truly before I was born. But I thought, why not rep my Celtics jersey? The Celtics ended up winning the championship
Which we'll touch
earlier
on.
this week,
Yeah.
which we will touch on later. So I thought, why not pull it out of the cupboard and pop it on?
he? Yeah. And, yeah, what a round of AFL. Like, I think we should get on to that.
Let's get on to the round of football. That was round 14.
So, obviously, the first game of the week, we had Brisbane taking on St Kilda. It was a very high-scoring game. Like,
Yeah, it
I
was.
tipped Brisbane to win by 40 points, and, like, I was a bit worried because St Kilda came very strong in the last quarter, and, like, I was a bit worried that my tip would be lost. But credit to Brisbane, they're looking good. What are your thoughts on how they went?
Yeah, Brisbane played well. No surprise there. I don't reckon that St Kilda lost. Sorry to all those St Kilda fans out there. I know one of my good mates, or best mates, I should say, is actually a St Kilda fan. So, sorry to you know who
We're
you
not
are.
plugging him in just for
Um,
the name and shame.
They didn't play too bad though,
No.
St Kilda. It actually was a good game.
was.
Brisbane only did get up by 20 points, but I mean, Brisbane also haven't been, I would say, in form
No.
this season, or they're kind of like not what everyone thought they would be.
Well,
this
especially
year.
coming from a grand final last year, right? And
Yeah.
you sort of lose your first home game to
But
Carlton.
it's not just last year. They've kind of been up there for the last few years as well. So
That's right.
they're kind of surprised a lot of people in, I would say, underperforming.
Sure, yeah. And
But-
St Kilda, like, they made finals last year. I think they
Yeah.
finished 5th. They've been
I think
completely
it was 6 because
inconsistent.
my Blue Baggers finished 5th. So
Yeah, okay. Well, sorry.
just
Pat.
putting that out there.
Joe Danaher and Jack Higgins both kicked 5. So, like, Joey's found his mojo, I reckon.
Yep.
And, yeah, I think that Brisbane are, like, as much as we have our doubts on how they're going, but, like, they've got a pretty good run home. So it will be interesting if they can, I might be speaking out loud, but I think they could probably fit to 8th if they get a good run. But like that's pushing it.
Brisbane.
Yeah,
It wouldn't surprise me if they do make the 8. They
won't make top 4. They can't make top 4.
No way they make it top 4. I heard on the radio probably last week.
Yeah.
And they were asking Kane Corns on SEN, like, who do you is any team locked in for the finals? And he said the top 3 teams, which is at the moment Sydney, Carlton,
and Collingwood.
And Collingwood. I think he said we're locked in for finals.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that goes. Whether those 3 teams are top 4, I hope for both of our sake.
Yeah.
It is that we're locked in for top 4.
I don't want a Collingwood versus Blues qualifying. That would be mayhem.
That would be a crazy game if we both are playing each other in the finals.
That pod would be crazy.
It will be crazy, but let's just say that the state of Victoria will also go to hell if it's a Carlton Collingwood final.
Yeah. If we go to the next game.
Yeah, let's move on.
Bulldogs versus Freo. Now, Bulldogs managed to win 149 to 82.
Wow.
So, Bulldogs somewhat got their season back on track.
They've had a couple of good wins. They had a good win.
They beat Collingwood. So.
Yeah. Sorry to put that out there. They did beat Collingwood by 18 points a few weeks ago. And they obviously won over the weekend by quite a large margin against
a very inconsistent Fremantle.
Yeah. So, I mean, they have been playing good football. Marcus Bontempelli has been playing his usual amazing football.
Did you see his 3-on-1?
Yeah. That was crazy. That was... I mean, let's just talk on Bontempelli for a sec. He finished the game with 30 possessions, 3 goals, and he kicked a goal on, as you just said, a 3-on-1.
Yeah.
It's just...
Do you think it's very because I've got my bias on Nick Dacos to probably win the Brownlow. Like if he's got to win one, surely.
All I gotta say, Bontempelli, and I think I mentioned this in a couple of episodes past. He has been robbed, I would say, of a couple. But if he was to win a podcast,
win the podcast,
if he was to win a Brownlow, it has to be this year.
Yeah.
I said this to a couple of my mates and to my family last year. Last year was going to be his chance. This year is his chance to win the Brownlow. If he doesn't win it, he's going to end his career with no Brownlow.
Yeah. And Cody Waitman was back.
Yeah, good game by Waitman
it was.
as well.
Kicked 3 goals, and your mate Yul Hagen kicked another bag of 3. So, yeah, it'll be interesting. They're similar to Brisbane. They've got a very healthy percentage. Whether they make the 8, time will tell. But yeah,
I don't reckon they'll make the 8.
Wow,
sorry
you're
to
going to be speaking out.
Sorry
Remember this episode.
Sorry
Patrick
to
Fry
everyone
said
at
they
work
wouldn't.
that go for the Brisbane Lions. I know, not Brisbane, for the Bulldogs. There are a lot of people who I work with that do go for Bulldogs. Sorry to them, but I don't think the Doggies are making it to the top 8.
You heard it here first.
Let's move on to
Dusty Mania.
I thought it was going to be maybe the game of the round, but it actually really wasn't.
No.
I mean,
but Dusty kicked the first goal.
He did.
92,000 at that game.
92,000. That
for just
it
the guys
was
playing
crazy.
300.
That was a crazy game. You know, shout out to Dustin Martin, who will go down as probably one of the greatest modern era players in Australian rules football, playing 300 games in the league, but also for the Richmond Tigers. So good on him. As you said, Benny, he kicked the first game and quite a good
Kick the first goal.
I am all
He's
over
stumbling
the place
on
today.
his OADs.
I'm all over the place today. He kicked the first goal of the game.
He did.
Very good goal. I think it was like 52 meters out.
barrel.
Yeah, barrel. So good goal.
And then Hawks are looking like they're doing what Collingwood did in 2022. Just they're winning games, but it's just like their
They've won-
percentage is
they've-
crazy low.
Yeah. Oh, it's like what Carlton was a couple of years ago.
It was.
Hawks, they've I think won like their last like their last 7.
Yeah,
So they're actually looking quite good, and they're actually a game out the 8 right now,
they are
and that's
scary.
quite scary for those towards the bottom of the 8.
Yeah.
All right, moving on, we have the Crows and the Swans.
That man,
that played.
Joel Amati.
Yes.
Let's have a chat about him. He 9 goals won from 10 touches of a ball. Like
He played a really.
it's just like going up and saying to someone, "Oh, how'd you go today?
No, I just had a casual 9 goals.
How
And
many touches? 10.
Yeah, just 10 touches, 9 goals. So not bad. Not
bad.
Not too much of a good game.
I didn't hog the
but,
ball too much.
But the Swans ended up taking the win 109 to 67.
And definitely, like, big bags of goals are pretty few and far between. Like, obviously, the exception of Tex Walker and Charlie, what they did to West Coast last year, and
Yep.
kicked, like, 10 and 9 last year. But, like, you don't see many players kick that many goals these days.
Sydney, it's not unusual that they won by so much. I
Yeah.
mean, they are the number 1 team.
Yeah.
Like, what do you rate? Like, do you see Sydney winning another game? Losing another game. I'm just all over the place.
Give this man a coffee.
I need to go and get a coffee after this.
Time out. Yeah, it's an interesting one. They've got the Battle of the Bridge this week, playing Giants, which we'll touch on a bit later. My gut feeling that I feel like they so Collingwood. I think not to be back to Collingwood, but like we stumbled in the last 4 rounds and lost our last I think wasn't it 4 out of our last 5.
So
And
I've just got it up now.
Yeah.
All right. As you mentioned, you have the Battle of the Bridge this week.
Yep.
Sydney vs Giants. The next week they have Fremantle
In Optus or
in Sydney.
okay.
They then go. Where is it? They then come down here and play St Kilda at Marvel.
They'll win that.
They then have. If I can find it, North Melbourne. They're not.
Yeah,
gonna
so
lose
they've
that.
got fairly
They got quite an easy run.
month. Yeah.
Because then they got Brisbane after that. So,
At the Gabba.
yeah.
Okay. Well, that'll be
That's their
an
next
interesting game.
About half a dozen handful of games.
Yeah.
I don't see
So
them
them
really
losing.
losing
Except for
any of those.
Brisbane will be a very good game to watch, but I don't see them losing many. Brody Grundy.
Well, it's not just Grundy. Like, he had an amazing game. I mean, 49 hit-outs, 9 clearances, 31 disposals. He had a good game. But it's also like the rest of the plays for
Warner,
Sydney as well.
Heaney.
I mean, as you said, Joel Amani, 9 goals from 10 disposals. You had Grundy, you had Errol Goulden, 35 disposals as well. And then Isaac Heaney, who, again, I reckon, well, not again, but he will definitely be up there, I would say.
For the Brownlow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For the Brownlow, we probably Bontempelli.
Mm.
I'm probably a bit too early to call this, but I would say you can easily lock in 3 players in the top 5, which is going to be Dacos, Heaney, and Bontempelli.
Mm.
That's who I got 3 of the top 5 for this year's Brownlow, and I don't see any of them. They're all got a good chance and an equal chance of winning the Brownlow.
Yeah.
I mean, like Isaac Heaney, he had 29 disposals, 2 goals, 24 kicks, 11 handballs, and 6 tackles in that game.
Huge.
Yeah.
Now, next game.
This
Wrong one.
let's actually go to the next game before we touch on
Okay,
this
we'll go to
one.
the next one.
Port vs GWS.
That was a very sloppy game, I must admit.
No, it wasn't really an interesting game.
Like,
It was Giants ended up getting the win by 22 points, 73 to 51. It really was
a sloppy fest. Like, Giants kicked 9 goals, 19. Power kicked 6 goals, 15. Like, if you flip those around, it would have been about 100. I'm just figuratively speaking here. It could have been 126 to 96, and that would have been a lot more good to watch. But the fact
Yeah.
that no one kicked over 10 goals, it's just sloppy.
Yeah. It's
And
I
this
mean,
this incident here, Zach Butters has got off, and it looks like. What do you see out of that?
no, I never watched when that happened in the
Yeah.
game, so I actually haven't seen
The actual
the
footage.
footage
Yeah.
of the incident. Looking at it right here, it looks like I may be wrong, but it looks like he's personally done it on purpose. So
But how he gets off from that?
I don't understand how he gets off.
Yeah.
I understand at least 1 week, but
But
I
you can
don't
see
really-
Tom Green. Like, obviously he's.
I mean, it looks like he's also put his arm out as
But
well.
if you're punched in the face, like,
I don't understand how he got off,
yeah.
but I know.
Interesting.
So we'll see. And then let's go back to
Let's go back once.
the other game.
The most stressful game to ever attend a
You
football.
were at that game, weren't you?
I was at that game, and I was about to walk out at quarter time.
It
49-14 at quarter time against the last place team is stressful.
yeah, it's. Would you say this was? I mean, it didn't really seem like it in the first half, but would you say this was the game of the game of the round,
Definitely.
especially in that last quarter? I mean, I just want to get up what the stats were in that last quarter.
Yeah.
Where is it?
But mate, how we got like Nick Larkey literally taught Darcy Moore a new one.
All I
Fo-
gotta say, I just need to be quiet with a mate of mine. I said to him before the game, he's like, "Do you reckon North Melbourne's got a chance?" I'm like, "No,
Well,
no
I-
chance they're gonna do well this game."
Well, I should
And
be,
I mean, you look at what happened. They were at one stage up by 50 odd.
Yeah.
And then third quarter comes around. He's like, "Oh, do you see Collingwood coming back from this?" I'm like, "No, no
I
chance."
should apologise as well because I literally said prior to the West Coast game, I was like, they're not winning a game at all this year. And what? They almost win 3 in a row. So it's like,
Yeah.
okay, I'll put my hand up and say, I'm sorry.
So in this last quarter,
Yep.
North Melbourne kicked 1 goal 2.
Yep.
Collingwood kicks 6 goals 4.
Yeah, right. Sheesh.
That's what the last quarter was like.
And that was it.
And that was a crazy last quarter. I mean, Collingwood ended up getting the win by 1 point, 119 to 118.
Yeah.
Zach Fisher nearly won it for.
Mate,
The
that was like, I was literally
but-
recording on my phone and I was like, and then I just see, I think it was David Roden umpiring at that end, and I just see his hand go to his chest. I was like,
Yeah. It's.
But everyone's going to talk about that Bailey Scott incident, and
Yeah.
like you and I were both at the game. Yes, I probably should say that it should have been 50, but like he did step off his mark, to be honest.
Yeah.
But did you see the moment with Tristan Cherry like flop over the boundary line?
I didn't say that.
Oh, we need to show some footage of Tristan Cherry. He literally flopped over the boundary line. We need to put it up a bit later, but like that was the biggest flop of all time. Stupid. But anyway, we live and learn. Collingwood's now third on the ladder. Let's go.
Let's actually. What do you reckon of Bobby Hill's mark?
Very,
I
very
mean,
good.
I said this earlier in the podcast in
Yeah.
in an earlier episode. I said not Bobby Hill. I said Jamie Elliott's mark was mark of the year.
Yeah.
But what would you say with Bobby Hill's?
Yeah, it was up there. Like if I bring up this, where is it? This was Andrew Cracker back in 2012. Have a look at this mark.
Where was this Marvel again? Yeah.
So if we watch
Alright,
this.
okay.
This was
Okay,
very
so-
similar. Like that got mark of
Yeah.
the year.
Nowadays, I mean, it was a good mark,
Like
but nowadays I mean, when did you say this was? This was
2012.
2011. This was 13 years ago.
yeah.
Nowadays, that wouldn't even be a top three contention.
No.
I don't, in my opinion, that wouldn't even go top three.
Yeah. Right.
So, I mean, it wasn't a bad mark, that one that you just showed,
Mm.
but I don't
Things
know.
could be better. Jeremy Howe does that week in, week out.
Yeah.
Now, if we go to our footy tips,
Yeah.
so it's obviously still the bye round. So we're speaking on the Thursday on the
Yeah, we're recording this on the Thursday, the day before Carlton versus Geelong.
So where you going?
I'm going to that game. Like I go to.
Are you
any
working?
Carlton? No.
No.
I can never work a Carlton game. I'll just-
That would be you would be at the pub
I'll be
stand with
too
the
scared.
stress ball like.
I'll be too scared that I'll lose my job and won't have a job afterwards. But I don't
I
know.
said Carlton by 15. Is that reasonable?
I mean, we do have our defense back this time
Yeah.
around. We did only lose by I think it was like 16 points earlier in
But
the
that was
year.
a very high scoring game.
It was. We just need to make sure that Jeremy Cameron and Zach Tui don't kick as many goals as they did
Zach
last
Tui,
time.
I remember his 3 goals
Zach-
he kicked and he literally
Zach-
done like 150 meters and no one was on
But see, where did he learn that?
Yeah.
At Carlton. So
him. Everything goes back to Carlton. He learnt that
I-
at Carlton.
I don't know. Looking at our tips, Carlton Geelong, it's gonna be close. I reckon it'll be within 10 points either way. Whoever wins.
That look. Is he going for Geelong?
I'm gonna go Carlton for this one.
Woo! Okay. Brisbane versus Lions at Adelaide Oval.
Brisbane versus Lions. Okay.
So I need
I'm
coffee.
not the only
I
one
need
making
coffee as
mistakes
well.
here.
Brisbane versus Port Adelaide.
Adelaide Oval, Port.
In saying that though, like they've both been pretty inconsistent, so I wouldn't be surprised if it goes Brisbane's way.
Yep.
But Port Adelaide being at home. Giants versus Sydney. At Giants.
Battle of the Bridge. I got Sydney. Easy. I don't know why I hesitated with that. I got Sydney.
Yeah. I've got Sydney as well, but being at Giants, I wouldn't be surprised if Toby Green taught
Yeah.
them a lesson.
Melbourne versus North Melbourne, MCG.
Like I was listening to I think Triple M or SEN, but they were both saying like, can North Melbourne, if they bring their game that they did against Collingwood, and with the smashed up Melbourne side, like I still think Melbourne's gonna win, but
I know this is a Melbourne home game, but I don't understand why they didn't switch it around and put out Marvel. Because Melbourne fans, sorry to all those Melbourne fans out there, Melbourne fans just don't rock up to their game.
Mm.
They really don't.
this will be one of
And
those games that's
North Melbourne-
freezing cold and no
Yeah,
one shows up.
North Melbourne, especially night game at the MCG on Saturday, no one's going to go. Like,
Yeah.
North Melbourne never plays. It's meant to be 13 degrees on Saturday,
Yeah.
and it's meant to be 10 degrees when that game's on.
yeah.
No one's going to go.
Yeah.
And North Melbourne, they'll never go to the G. They never play at the G.
No.
I got Melbourne.
But how much?
I don't know. I mean, if North Melbourne play like they did last week against Collingwood, I would say within 30 points. But if not, I would definitely say somewhere between 30 and 50 points.
Okay, that's agreeable.
I would say maybe about 38 points by Melbourne.
Yep.
Going on to Sunday, we got Essendon versus West Coast at Marvel. Harley Reid's back, I think.
No, I think
No?
he's still suspended because they had the bye.
one more week?
Yeah, because they had the
No,
bye.
right, yeah.
So Essendon.
I still got Essendon. I mean, Essendon. Everyone would say Essendon been kind of on a roll, but
Yeah.
then I saw this after Carlton beat them a couple weeks ago. Essendon have only beaten one team that is currently in the top 8.
And who's that?
Oh, I would have to get it back up. I can't. It
Yeah,
was
okay.
from a couple of weeks ago, but that I saw the post. But yeah, they've all of their games have been from teams
Bottom 10.
in the bottom 10.
Yeah, right.
And I mean, they did have that draw against Collingwood,
Yeah.
but
Thankfully.
I don't know. Like as much as everyone, this is just me saying, but I reckon as much as everyone is saying, you know, Essendon, this is their year. This is their year to finally win a final.
Just a final.
Not make it to the finals, just win a final. I really, if they make it, it's going to be 7th or 8th.
Okay.
They're going to have,
You heard it here. Bombers are finishing 7th or 8th, according to Patrick Fry.
but once again, it wouldn't surprise. I can see them being above 7th or 8th, and I can also see them not making it. But if I would still have them making it, but
I just
Around
wouldn't be
7 or
surprised
8.
if they still don't make finals.
it wouldn't. They'll probably choke like always. Last game of the round, Fremantle versus Gold Coast.
I think this is a game that Gold Coast, if they are wanting to play finals, they've got to win this game.
Gold Coast will win this one,
You certain?
I reckon.
Yeah, okay.
Gold Coast, this is their year to finally make finals. The Gold Coast are winning it.
I tend to agree.
Agree to disagree.
And the buys this week, the Crom, the Pies, the Hawks, Richmond, St Kilda, and Dogs.
You know, the funny thing about this, and I can't remember who said it to me, but someone, I'll probably listen to this, someone said to me, all of the teams that have had success this season, this century, have actually got the bye this year. I mean, not really St Kilda because they've only seen one grand final.
2, 3.
Two.
They've had a draw grand final. They lost 2009 and lost 2010.
True.
Sorry to rub
But
that in.
I mean, like, Hawthorn, they've had their success. Bulldogs, they've had their success. Richmond have, and Collingwood won last year. A lot of the, I mean, that's kind of pointless for what I just said.
Put
but-
those on random AFL stats.
Yeah.
Anyone who has a bye can actually win a grand final.
All right, so that wraps up footy.
um,
What's next? Basketball. This is where the jersey comes into play. The Celtics ended up taking the NBA championship, winning their 18th banner, I should say, hanging in the rafters of their home at TD Garden in Boston. Finals MVP went to Jaylen Brown over Jason Tatum. A lot of people saying, no, it should have been Tatum, blah, blah, blah. I always thought that Jaylen Brown should have been Finals MVP, but I know you're not really into basketball. I'm not sure.
what's
if you-
MVP mean? I was joking. I know what MVP means.
Did you watch any of it?
I watched the conference finals with I've got a mate who goes for Minnesota, and I was half supporting them, like a person who just bandwagons. Yeah. So, but in saying that, when I saw Boston play, who did they play? Was it Indiana?
Yep.
Yeah, they looked pretty dominant. So,
Yeah.
with my extensive knowledge of basketball, I thought they were going to go far.
Anyway, like everyone was saying, you know, it should have been Jason Tatum that should have won Finals MVP. But when you have a look at Jaylen Brown, like he was just dominant the entire series and the entire playoffs, I should say. I mean, like he won the Eastern Conference Finals MVP. But in the finals, in the 5 games, he averaged 20.8 points per game, 1.6 steals, 5 assists, 5.4 rebounds, and 0.8 blocks. That is definitely worthy of
MVP.
Finals MVP, in my opinion. Moving on, the NBA world or basketball world lost another legend. This is crazy. I mean, the amount of legends, and there is another one that we will touch on later. The amount of legendary athletes that have passed away over the recent months. I mean, it started off with Corey Homicide Williams. That was his nickname. Then he went to Bill Walton, Celtics and Trailblazers former player, and now Jerry West. everyone say Mr. Clutch. I say Mr. Basketball. He's literally like the image of the NBA.
Okay.
I mean, like that outline of the logo is him.
Okay. Didn't know that. Well,
Yeah,
that's
so
good to know.
that's a fun fact. But going on to who Jerry West was, he was a 14-time All-Star, a one-time champion in 72, a one-time Finals MVP in 1969, the year they lost, and he is actually like the only player to win Finals MVP on the losing team.
Mm.
He was a member of the NBA's 35th, 50th, and 75th anniversary team. His jersey number 44 is retired by the Lakers. He's an Olympic gold medalist and a Hall of Famer. But that's just as a player. He also coached the Lakers for 3 years in the 70s, and then probably had his great success off the court as an executive. He won 2 Executive of the Year awards, won 8 championships as an executive over multiple organizations, Lakers, Warriors. He also was responsible, or someone that was responsible for the Showtime Lakers putting Magic and Kareem together, and was also the person that was the face, or not the face, but the person behind the scenes to put Kobe and Shaq together. He's also, with that being an executive, also a Hall of Famer. With that, as I mentioned, he is also well known for being the logo of the NBA. Moving on into other basketball news, JJ Redick, former player, current commentator, current host of another podcast, number 2 podcast, I should say. Is very close to putting pen to paper to become a first-time head coach for the Los Angeles Lakers. Coming out today, Pascal Siakam is also very close to signing a new 4-year, $189.5 million
It's like
maximum
AFL
contract.
players are getting paid. We'll give you about $5 million across 7 years. This guy's getting $189 million.
Across 4 years.
Like, if you compare that, like, if obviously that would be probably in US dollars. So if we compare that, if we compare this to Australian dollar, what is he getting? He's getting $284 million.
Yeah, and that's how much does that work out per year? That works out, I think, to about 80 mil a year.
Sheesh.
So that's crazy.
Do you think it's worth it though? Like, do you need $280 million though?
He, I'm not one to argue on that. I wish I had that money, but I mean, he's not a bad player. I wouldn't say that he's a standout player. He's a decent player. He has won a championship with Toronto about 5 years ago in 2019.
Yeah.
He is probably like maybe their second option in Indiana, so it doesn't surprise me that they did put that contract to him. In other basketball news, the Detroit Pistons and their head coach Monty Williams have just parted ways. No surprise there. They were absolutely crap. My language. They were absolutely crap this year. Detroit. I think they were nearly at a record, or did break the record, and lost like 28, 29 games in a row.
Sheesh.
So, there's that. In NBL news, the the Brisbane Bullets are moving out of their current home of Nissan Arena, moving into a 10,500 seat stadium at the Brisbane Entertainment Centre. So not really a stadium, I should say. The Tasmania Jack Jumpers, the reigning NBL champions, will also compete in the FIBA
Intercontinental.
Yeah, that cup. That will feature the champions of the BCL, Asia, Europe, and Americas champions. the BAL champions and the reigning champions of the NBA G League.
How do you think that would go?
I reckon. I mean, they do have a good roster. They've always had a good roster. They've always been up there with the NBL, but obviously like, this is different competition. This is a global competition. I reckon they'll be all right. They'll do all right.
They'll get tested.
They will get tested, but I mean, like with any team in any competition, they'll always get tested.
Yeah.
But yeah, like they do have a good roster there. I mean, like Jack McVeigh, Will Magnay, and then their head coach of Scott Roth over there. They
Yep.
do also have that other new Next Stars player in Roman, so they'll definitely be up for a fight. Whether they come out as champions or not, that's another discussion. But they'll do all right. They'll be up there. And then once again with the NBL, just rumored. I think at this stage, I'm not sure if it's confirmed.
We're not making an exclusive here, Pat.
The New Zealand Breakers are rumored to have approached former NBA coach Jeff Van Gundy as their new head coach for the upcoming 24-25 NBL season. That wouldn't be too bad. Like NBL is definitely becoming global now. I mean, we've seen over recent years, you've had players like LaMelo Ball, Josh Giddey, RJ Hampton, all come out for the Next Stars. You got probably, I mean, this will be next week in about 5 days, 6 days time. So next week this will come out, whether or who goes where in the draft. But at the moment, we could have a former NBL player go first overall. You've also got 2 former NBA players who are now global ambassadors for the league. So it's definitely getting up there with global attention. Obviously, with the Jack Jumpers going over and playing against international teams, they'll bring that awareness as well. You had Adelaide a couple years ago that beat the Phoenix Suns. So we are definitely getting that global audience. So it wouldn't surprise me probably if we do have Jeff Van Gundy, or if not him, another former NBA coach or player come down and coach. I mean, Scott Roth, the head coach of the Tasmania Jack Jumpers, he's a former player. He played about 180, 200 games in the NBA for multiple organisations.
Okay.
And legendary head coach Greg Popovich wrote him a letter to congratulate him on his recent success of the championship down here. So we are definitely getting the global audience. So yeah, there's that. What's next? JJ Reddy going to the Lakers. We know that. Willie Mays going to baseball now. First time mentioning baseball in this. This is something different.
What's baseball? No, that's too.
And once again, like I mentioned, like we've had a lot of like sad passings of legendary athletes, and if you don't know baseball, you at least have heard of Willie Mays. He passed away yesterday. So very sad. He is a 24-time All-Star. You heard me correct. 24 times.
Just a few.
Yeah, just a couple of All-Star appearances as a player. He's also a World Series champion in 1954 and a Hall of Famer. His jersey or his number is also retired by the San Francisco Giants and the New York Mets. So sad day in basketball and in baseball. And he was also a part of the all-century and all-time MLB teams.
Wow.
So they
Huge.
lost a legend in the world of baseball. Another bit of news in the MLB. I apologize. I mean, he obviously won't be listening to this because he's...
How do you know he's not going to be listening?
I mean, if he does, shout us out on your social media. But Shohei Ohtani for the Los Angeles Dodgers hit a long bomb, hitting a home run 476 feet, which is currently the furthest as of this season,
Yeah.
which is just absolutely crazy.
How far is that in meters? That is
It's a long while.
145 meters.
Wow.
Just a bit of a hit.
Nowhere near, I would say, the longest home run
Mm.
that has neither rumored or it is rumored, but not confirmed nor denied. I think that one was like 575 feet
Sheesh.
by Babe Ruth, so that's crazy.
To actually hit a ball like with a very a bat like this big. It's
I
crazy.
mean, this was back when Babe Ruth did supposedly hit the home run. He was also a legend. I mean, he passed away ages ago, a long time ago.
Yeah.
But from like what you hear of him, and like I'm sure you've heard of Babe Ruth as
Yeah.
well, haven't you? Yeah. Like he's probably a legend and probably the greatest baseball player. I mean, the longest rumored home run, the called shot where he called it at Wrigley Field in Chicago, I'm pretty sure it was. Like, and like he was well built
Yeah.
as someone back then in like the 30s and that, but his baseball bat was massive and he weighed a lot. Sorry, but yeah, obviously, Otani has quite a while to go, or not quite a distance to go to reach that distance. But anyway, moving on from baseball.
What have we got? So, our producer would have wanted us to talk about this, so we're going to talk about it. So, the Cricket World Cup is currently over in the United States and the West. Yeah, I'm saying that.
I mean, we were always going to mention it anyway.
Yeah.
The Aussies are into the Super 8.
Yeah.
So,
Cricket World Cup over in the US and the West Indies at the moment. We've started very well, undefeated. First time since 2012 since we've been undefeated in a group stage. So kudos to Australia. Marcus Stoinis, considering he doesn't have, don't quote me on it, but considering he doesn't have a contract, he's probably been our best player.
contract where in the BBL?
No, for like Australian cricket contract. Like,
Alright,
I think you need a central contract and central chatter. That's another chat. But he's had like 250s, 6 wickets, a pretty handy bowling average. Like, from a guy who's been in and out of the team, he's probably been our most consistent player.
Yeah, he has done well. You've also had Travis Head firing at all angles.
Yes, Travis Head knows
as
how
well
to
at the
swing a bat.
He does.
And bowlers are doing pretty well. Like Adam Zampa chiming in with a few wickets. I think, I'm not sure if you saw it, Pat, but our last game, this is about a week ago, we were playing Scotland, and this is when Marcus Stoinis hit another 50. But if we had lost that game, yes, it would have probably been a boil over and probably been the biggest embarrassment that Australia lost to Scotland in cricket, but like it wouldn't have let England in the Super 8. And now sort of like poking the big bear and sort of like we've let them in, and so we sort of have to negate them so they don't go any further. But if you're unaware, the Super 8 Group 1, so it's Australia, Afghanistan, Bangladesh and India. Group 2 is England, South Africa, United States and the West Indies, which, considering you don't have teams like Sri Lanka and Pakistan and all that, but you've got teams like the United States.
This is also crazy, and I heard this. I'm not sure if you heard, or you probably have, Ben.
Yeah.
But if you make it to the Super 8, you are an automatic entry into the next T20 World Cup.
Yeah.
And for a team like for the United States to be in there for their first World Cup is crazy. I mean, they haven't done too bad. I mean, they obviously won against Canada.
Canada aren't a cricket nation, so
No, but neither is the United States.
No, they've probably got all baseball players.
Their biggest win is no doubt against Pakistan.
Yeah.
So that, like, in that super over, like, I remember I was driving
Amir
to
bowled
work.
terribly.
Yeah.
Like,
I've watched the footage and I was listening to it
yeah.
on the radio on the way to work, and just like they had like 3 wides.
They had to bowl like a 9 over. Yeah, 9 ball over.
It's crazy, but you know, shout out to the United States and cricket.
Yeah.
But I mean, you'll probably know this more than me. How does the Super 8 work?
I think it's sort of like it's 2 groups of 4, and then sort of like once it got like the top 4 teams out of that Super 8, I think so it'll be like one,
So top 2 teams in each group.
yeah, and then they'll play the semi-final. So the first play second in the other pool, and then like the second place play the first place in the other pool. So hypothetically, so if Australia go through undefeated, we will play as what we've listed here. So Australia will play South Africa, and then it'll be like Afghanistan will play England.
Yep.
Hypothetically.
So
And
who do you reckon will? I mean, this. Is
I think
quite a
it'll be
far shot.
Australia, India will be the top 2 in Group 1, and then I think it'll be England and the West Indies. I think will be the top 2.
Yep.
In the other pool. South Africa are a little bit inconsistent. They're battling. They did beat the United States, I think, overnight. So
So it has started.
So that they have started, yeah. So Australia play Bangladesh, I think, tomorrow.
Sorry, England won against the West Indies by 8 runs today.
England was it?
Yep.
Yeah. Right.
South Africa won by 18 runs against the United States.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but
They're the only two. They're the only games that have
yeah.
come out. So
yeah. But hopefully, Australia do well. Like I think we should probably mention next week's pod. I think that we'll have 2 games under our belt. So hopefully we can get a win. But is there much else to discuss? Don't think so.
I don't really think so. No. I mean,
Make sure you listen to our pod again.
yeah.
When we do
Make
get
sure
Cole
that
Pierce.
you do. Well, we might as well just close it up now. I think
Yeah.
we've talked everything that we need to. So, once again, this has been another episode of the Winning Edge Sports Podcast.
Benny
make
Black and Paddy Fry.
We make sure that you check us out on Spotify and YouTube. We
which
now
this will be
have.
on.
Yep.
Yeah.
This will be on both. So hopefully in the next week we should have 3 episodes released on YouTube.
Mm.
We already got our first one out with Warwick Giddy,
Yeah.
former NBL player and I would say legend. We had him on the pod, so make sure that you check that out. Check out this episode, or you are, if you've gotten this far.
And when we do our interview with Cole.
Yep.
'cause
So hopefully sometime next week we should have our interview with Cole also released. So make sure that you subscribe to us on YouTube, follow us on Spotify,
and Insta.
Yeah, make sure that you follow us on Instagram as well. All of it is under the Winning Edge Sports Podcast. So yeah, I think that's it. So thank you for listening or watching.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Cheers.